Hey, welcome to session 7. Day 3 already, session 7. This session is all about growing your brand. And we're starting off with a keynote from a very, very knowledgeable lady in this area. You must be bold and fearless with your ideas, now more than ever. There is a space for you as an expert in your industry. You just have to be brave. Our speaker today, Stacey Calder, has the mission of helping business owners succeed without the need for huge budgets. The myth that you cannot compete with the big boys will be debunked. Just because you don't have Hollywood money doesn't mean you can't have an Oscar-winning reputation. Your business is a stage, you are the leading star and the expert. People count on you, so why not shout it to the hills? Ladies and gentlemen, please give a massive hand for our keynote speaker, Stacey Calder, with Let's Get Visible.
Oh, thank you. It's always so strange watching you all clap when there's no sound. But yeah, so as Keith says, that was a lovely introduction there, Keith. Thank you. That was such a great welcome. I am Stacey Calder. I am from the Business Success Networking magazine, and it's my job to get people really visible, whether that's online, whether that's in print, whether that's through events like this. We all want to get out there. We all want to showcase what we can do. So I've been doing this for quite a long time in various different roles. So my previous life, as I like to call it, I used to run a networking company for mums in business. Now, a lot of those people were very much micro businesses. They were small businesses. They didn't really have a lot of budget. They were starting out maybe from their kitchen table or from their sofa, and they had big goals and big dreams, and they wanted to know how they could make an impact in their industries. So I started off like that, doing a lot of coaching, some training, teaching them the skills that they would need. Most of them were very much startup businesses. So it was teaching them how to get all these skills that they would need to become this growing business that they so wanted. And the key thing is, no matter how I was training, no matter what I was coaching, it was always around making sure they were visible. So they weren't just startups. Some of them had been going quite a while. They were getting stuck in the mud. They just couldn't figure out what they needed to do next. So I always say with people now, what marketing assets have you got now? What do you need what do you need next? And what do you need in the future? And that's the kind of things that I talk about. So I sold that business and I went into business on my own. And very similar, what I'd realized was that I can help anyone get visible. It wasn't just about those mums. So actually, I'd got a lot of male clients. I'd got a lot of people that were wanting to go from employed to self-employed. I'd got a lot of women that had maybe got grown-up kids that had flown the nest, and they just weren't sure what their next steps were. So I love a bit of personal development, I'll be honest, and I'm going to tell you how I got to this Let's Get Visible now. And it's not all, I've always been really visible, not at all. And I think it's really key that I share this with you just so that you can understand that we all get it wrong sometimes, and we can all focus on the wrong things. So as I said, 4 years ago, I sold that business, and I'll be honest, with that business, we had a pretty strong logo. We were known across the UK, but I did like to hide behind it. So when I sold that business, suddenly I didn't have a logo to hide behind anymore. It was me. I was on my own. Stacey Calder had to get this face in front of people, and that's what I did numerous things. I went out networking to different networks, concentrated a lot on social media, all that kind of thing. And as I said, I'm a big fan of personal development, so I can't be telling other people to go and develop themselves if I'm not. And one day I went to a speaker training. I'd done several before, but this one was with a mentor. And he said, come along, come and do my speaker training. This is what you want to do. You want to be speaking more. And I'd done some speaking previously. I'd done some speaker training. I'd run some awards. So it wasn't new to me. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to go. You can always learn more. So off I went. I sat through the day course. We were getting up and doing things at the front of the room. They were getting feedback from others. There was about 16 of us in the room, and it was a really great day. Really great day. You know, it covered all the things that I cover, and I'm hopefully going to cover with you today, which is things like, why would you want to be visible? Why would you want to speak? Well, if you're sitting there now thinking, I don't want to be visible, I'm quite happy hiding behind my banner or my logo. The reason that I'm talking to you about visibility today is for three things. You want to showcase your expertise, and by being visible, you do that to your audience. You want to raise your credibility. Again, you're going to do that by being visible, and you want to showcase your experience. And you're going to see why I'm focusing on those three things, because as this story progresses, you will see where I was going wrong. So I'd got my business, I'd got some coaching clients, got some social media clients, and I was sat on this speaking course, and I thought it had gone really well. It was fun, it was engaging. You know, people were giving me a round of applause, all these kinds of things. Day of exercises, and at the end of the day, the host of the mentor went around the room and he said, you and you would get paid now for a speaking gig. The rest of you, probably not yet. You haven't got the experience or the credentials to get paid as a professional speaker yet. Now, I wasn't one of those people that he had said you and you two. So I got really annoyed. This is someone who'd mentored me for 6 months. This is someone that knew me and knew I'd done speaking and hosted awards and quite happily did keynotes and went off networking and things. And I thought, why hasn't he picked me? So in the last session of the day, we were back to the front of the room, and it was kind of a give feedback in 40 seconds. And I won't swear today, but I did at the time. I started that last 40 seconds with, you've really bleeped me off. And he kind of sat up and he said, why? And I said, because you've said that you wouldn't pay, you don't think I would be paid as a speaker at this moment in time. I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And he said, I've been mentoring you for 6 months and I didn't know any of that. So how do your audience know that? And that sentence absolutely gave myself a rocket up the bottom, I'll be honest, because he was right. He had annoyed me. He should have known that. He took, you know, where are your photos? Where are your social media posts saying this? And I thought, blooming heck, yeah, you're absolutely right. I haven't showcased to him, I've been so busy making sure that my coaching clients had their photographs in a folder, that they had their banners, that they had their speaking gigs, and that they were showcasing all this stuff on their socials, that I'd kind of forgotten about me being visible. You know, I'd always use the phrase, well, if my clients are successful, it means I'm successful. That's how I want to do business. I want to do business by helping people, but it wasn't helping me. And so as much as I wanted to be really annoyed with him, I couldn't be, because that phrase then recreated my business. I decided that whilst I was, you know, training in social media, I was running magazines, actually what my whole business boiled down to was getting people visible. And to get people visible, I needed to be visible. So as much as he frustrated me by saying, you won't get paid for a speaking gig, I had the last laugh when 6 months later, he put me on quite a big stage in Blackpool to be a speaker at one of his events. So I did start that speaking session saying, I told you I was a speaker. So I did get my own back a little bit, but it is that thing of grit and determination and being absolutely proving him wrong. So that's why it's important to get visible. And hopefully you'll there'll be some bits in there where you think, yeah, because I have got so much more visible from that workshop. I make sure that I've got a lot of marketing assets going. And it's something that I talk about day in, day out. For those of you that know me, you know, we will know there's a bit of a joke with, oh God, Stacey's going on about her assets again. marketing assets. That's what we're talking about. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I could have talked about lots and lots of different things about visibility, but you know, this is a new audience for me. I was here last year talking about engage, was lots about social media prompts. Today, I'm going to talk about marketing assets. So I've got a slideshow. It's not going to be death by PowerPoint, but I did want to give you something that you can take photos of, watch the catch up, and actually put to good use. Now, I have got hundreds of different ways that you could create marketing assets to get visible. I'm just going to share with you today some of the top 15, and it will range from everything. It will be really practical stuff like banners, and it will be there'll be social covered and things like that. So if that's good with you guys, that's what I'm going to share with you today. So what I want you to think of though is think about that story. Why did I get visible? Why did I need to do this, and how I've built my business up around that now? Think about how being visible is going to help you. It might be something completely different. You know, you might not want to be a speaker. You might not even, you know, if someone said to you, well, you're not going to get up on stage, you know, you might think that's perfectly fine. I'll go a different way. You might be a social media manager that actually needs to be very visible on socials. There'll be something for everyone. So now, if tech allows me, that is not my strong point, I'm going to share my screen with you all, and we're going to run through a few bits there as to how and why. Let's just hope this works. There we go. Can we all see that? I can see you all, you've all come back on the screen. So yeah, we've got the thumbs up there. So marketing assets then, it's a kind of a phrase that I've used, which is basically just ways in which you can get visible. So the one thing I want to start with, very similar to how I've just started this talk, is about you. You know, it's up there, it's capital letters. You are your number one asset. If you've got nothing else, if you've got no budget, you've got you. And I talked about earlier, I used to hide behind my logo. We had a branding's great, and I know you've got some experts talking about that later on, but you cannot hide behind your brand, because if you ever sell that on, you're back to square one. So you are your biggest asset. You've got to be functioning right. So this morning, for those of you connected with me on my socials, you will have noticed I took a selfie, I took the Grow Live picture, I put it up, and I said, it's about, I'm keynoting at 9 o'clock, it's about the preparation. So last night I made sure that the PowerPoint was ready. I made sure that the techie stuff was done. You know, my speakers are ready, my microphone, all the stuff that I needed to get done. And then I went and put a face mask on. Now you might be thinking, blooming it, why is she put, because I thought, do you know what? It's going to make me feel good. It's going to get me relaxed, going to feel okay about this. This morning, I was here. I pretty much knocked on the door at 8:30 this morning. Gary let me in, and I said, I just want to check that I can share the screen and all that kind of thing. Because what it does for me is it calms me. If I know everything's prepped, everything's ready, I've had a bit of self-care, I've had a coffee, although it's probably like half cold now, but it means that I'm ready. I am in the best possible place that I can be for me and to help you guys. So you are your biggest asset. You are what makes the difference. I work with a lot of network marketers. They all work for the same company. It's about how we make them stand out. What is their story? There is no other you. You are your biggest asset. So have a think about that. I'm not going to read through every bullet point, otherwise we'll be here all day, but you know, do take photos, do watch it on playback, grab those tips off there for you. So think about why your customers buy from you, what products and services you have. Chances are you've all got competitors. So you are the reason they come to you. What is it that you're going to give them? What is your expertise? So they're the kind of things that you can do to be your biggest asset. The next thing we're going to talk about is the 40 or 60-second pitch or introduction. Now, I don't like the word pitch necessarily, but we all do it. How many of you have been to a party and someone said, oh, what do you do? That's your introduction. You've got probably 30 seconds to get their attention. Who are you? Do you know who you're aiming it at? So for instance, my pitch, if I'm at a networking event, would change slightly depending on the audience. If it's a women's only event, I might talk slightly different than I would to a predominantly male event. Why? Because it's knowing your audience, it's knowing what makes them tick, but it's knowing which of their problems you can solve. So for me, when I work with women, it tends to be a lot around confidence. They don't want to blow their own trumpet. They don't want to shout necessarily about, hey, look at me. They feel a bit uneasy about it. So it's about building their confidence with their assets. Some men, not all, actually, and I've been told this by coaches, you need to go out there and sell to their ego. They want to be on the front cover of a magazine. They really want to. So there's slight difference in audiences there. But remember, in your pitch, ask people for those referrals. Tell them who you're looking for. Be really, really specific. Because if you're really specific, it's no good me saying, I'm looking for people to go on the front cover of a magazine. Because actually, what I'm looking for is mavericks, powerhouses, entrepreneurs that really do want to get seen and that have got a story to tell. Suddenly their brain starts thinking, I know Gary Jones, I know Keith Blakemore Noble, whoever it is. They start to give you these names, and then you get your referrals. Practice it and time it. It's really key that you time your introductions and presentations like this, actually. But if you don't, nobody wants to sit in a room where a 60-second introduction is waffling on for 5 minutes and they feel like you're doing the keynote. Say one thing well. I've seen people time and time again just almost be sick on their audience with all the different things they're doing. So just make it memorable. Say one thing well. You can chop and change it per audience, as I said. And what else could you use it for? This pitch isn't just for networking. It isn't just for, the what do you do question at parties. Could you get it on your website? Could you use it as an introduction? What about your socials? So again, it's a great way of introducing yourself and getting yourself visible. Now, branding, I'm only going to touch on this really quickly because I know we've got some real experts in the room today and they're going to be talking about it later. But I spoke about hiding behind a logo. A logo is not your brand. You've got everything behind that. So how do people see you? What is it that you are portraying within your brand? Have you got your brand colors in line? All that kind of thing. It's about building this presentation, this online platform, adding it to absolutely everything you do. There's no point putting a question or a meme on Facebook if it's not got your branding on, because people save as, they take it away, they're sharing it as content, and your branding needs to be on that so that they can do it. So have a think about all the different places that you can get your brand out there. And as I say, so my banner's up here today. This is my old brand. I'm really excited because my new banners are coming with my new branding. We've had a new website built, so everything has to be consistent. It's still going to be very pink because let's face it, pink is me. It's been my colors for quite a while now, but actually, the brand has grown, and so with that, we've done a new brand, and actually, it's everywhere. That's had, like I say, new website, but also the social media graphics to match, the banners, everything. So it's kind of key marketing assets there that you need to think of along with your brand, but be consistent. What I don't want is you guys seeing this pink masterclass today, this keynote, and then actually you go to my website and it's blue, because it makes people think, hang on, am I in the right place here? So be consistent across all your branding. Don't try to please everyone. I've had people say, well, it's very pink. Yeah, it is. But you know what? That's me. I love a bit of pink, as you can probably tell from the lippy. But you're never going to please everyone. And if you try to please everyone, you'll end up pleasing nobody. So just don't. But be building that brand awareness all the time. So some real practical things here. Business cards. We've been in lockdown for, how many months? 18 months now. And so potentially your business cards have gone out the window. They've been put into storage. They've gone in the bin. or they're not relevant anymore. You've changed your details. You've had a bit of a, I hate the word pivot, but they're just not relevant. Make sure as you get back out there, as you start meeting people, and I'm not necessarily talking about just networking meetings. Business cards are great. I carry them in my handbag all the time. Can't tell you how many times I've got one out and just handed it to someone in a shop because we've got into a conversation, or the checkout person has said something that's intrigued me, and I've gone, do you know what, I think I can help with that. Just handed her a business card. Whether they ring or not doesn't matter. They've got it there if they ever want to. So it is that first time contact with someone that you might not even be expecting. You're getting your brand, your face, your details straight in front of them quickly and easily. Can be left in deliveries, on notice boards, lots of different places. But remember, it is one of the first things people see about you. So make sure they're on brand and make sure they're good quality. People will sit there. Have you ever done it? You've got a really nice feeling business card and you think, ooh, yes, I can see people nodding. Oh, that's nice. That's luxurious. That I can't throw that one away. That's really nice. And you put it somewhere different. And you think, oh, I'll go back to that. And they do work. I've had people even this week saying to me, oh, hang on, I know who you need to speak to. And I've got a really nice business card from them. And they've gone off and found it. And it was that really nice business card that, was an accountant or whatever. They've got probably 50 other business cards from accountants, but it was nice. So, I put this presentation together because we are networking online a lot at the minute, but think about alternatives as well. There's been lots of digital business cards. There's been Zoom backgrounds. Some people on here have got Zoom backgrounds, which was really the kind of acting as a business card whilst we've been online and for online events like this. So what's on yours? Everybody's different. Some people love to have a photo. Again, it makes people recognize you. Others don't. I would always say make sure you've got your call to action on there, wherever it is you want them to go, whether it's your website or your socials, whatever you use more, have that on there. Banners is, again, I've got mine up today. I haven't, if I've been doing networking, I haven't had it up the whole time, but I thought, I'm keynoting, I want a banner up there. Have your contact details at the top of the banner, because if they're at the bottom and you're behind a table, people aren't going to see them. Really easy for them to take a photo of your contact details if they're at the top. Think about the different events you can use them at. There's expos. They are coming back in full force towards the end of 2021. I'm actually at the first one next week. I've been invited along to quite a few others. So expos, you need a banner. You need to be seen across the room. Networking events, online events such as this, awards. You ever been to an awards ceremony and see the banners around the room? If you're sponsoring and things like that, you absolutely need to have a banner. And then moving on, sponsorship events. But again, say one thing well. On all my banners, this one, making businesses boom. You can see the one on the sheet there, cards on the table, daring driven, unique day. It's all about saying one thing well, and you'll see that's kind of repeated throughout. So my message always, let's be visible. Let's get you visible. It works in a room for a full meeting. So one of the things that you might notice, now I'm really lucky, I get to keynote here for 45 minutes. Some of you have been really clever and you've got your backgrounds on, or you've got your banners in the room. Brilliant, because when all the people watch this back, I now get to go and have a look at that banner and go and be nosy and, give you a little bit of a stalk on your website or your Facebook. That's what people do in the room. The chances are, if you're networking, you're going to get 40 to 60 seconds to shine. If you're the speaker, you might get 20 minutes. If your banner's in the right place, those photos are taken, they are reshared time and time and time again, especially by the speaker. If you can get a banner behind a speaker, that's where you want to go. It stays in the photos. It helps people, reminds you of you. And, I've put one there. It hides the background mess. I'm not going to lie. My bookshelves are pretty messy behind me. So it works well for that. Now, I couldn't not talk about literature, given that I run a magazine. But people often say to me, print media is dead. I mean, I bought the magazine 3 years ago, and within the first 2 weeks, I think 50% of the people I spoke to saying, I've bought a magazine. Why? Printing's dead. No, it's really not, especially, you know, during lockdown, everyone was just getting bills through the door. How lovely was it when you got something that wasn't a bill? People were at home, they were taking the time to read this stuff. It's not about necessarily being in a magazine. It's about the asset that magazine is. So I could turn to one of the, you know, one of the articles in here, and suddenly they can be sharing this article on their socials, on their website, because now they're a published author, they're in a magazine, they've gone to print, all those kinds of things. So have a think about your literature. It's not just a leaflet, it's not just a postcard, it's not just a media pack or a magazine. How can you use that not only as a product, but actually as showcasing your skills? So as I say, magazine, there was a reason this guy wanted to go on the front cover. It was absolutely showcasing him on the front cover of a magazine. His credentials went up. Actually, by being on the cover, he posted it on his LinkedIn and he increased his connections by 2,000 connections in a week. Now tell me print media doesn't work when you're sharing it with social media and all that kind of stuff. He got so visible. In fact, he used to message me and tell me that he was secretly checking on his MD, and they were, you know, he was saying he's only got this views and I've got this. So if you like a little bit of competition there, get yourself on the front cover of a magazine and watch your connections grow. There are other things you can use: postcards, company brochures. Makes you really, really stand out. I had a lady once who was on the cover of the magazine. She went and turned the cover of the magazine into one of these banners. And every time she went to an expo, people would come over because they saw the banner. And then she would hand them a copy of a magazine and say, you don't have to book me yet. Here's my credentials. And people would book her because she was a cover star. She was on, why wouldn't you? Her expertise have got her onto the front page of a magazine. So there's all those kinds of things you can use. Newsletters. Do you send out a newsletter? Now, I'm not talking about I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. It's got to be newsworthy. Share with them. How are you going to make them visible? How are you going to help them? What's the problem that they need solving this week? Merchandise. Who loves a good mug? You know, we all love a good mug and a good pen. And again, you know, we've all been sat at our desks for months and months and months. My desk is absolutely surrounded with branded merchandise from people that have sent it to me. And it's great because when I give a referral, I can just pick up the mug or pick up the bottle or pick up the pen, and I've got their details. Think about what your audience will want. Don't go wasting time on merch that they're never going to use. Coasters is a good one. They're always on the desk, things like that. But what will your ideal client use? You know, for Gary, who does a lot of podcasting and shows like this, maybe something techie, maybe a power bank would work really well. It might not necessarily be a highlighter, for instance, although everyone uses highlighters and not just me. But my husband's in a rock band, so I was saying to him, you don't really need mugs, you want guitar picks. So it's playing to your audience and thinking outside the box. Anybody needs any ideas for merch, give me a shout, because honestly I get very excited about merchandise. Again, uniform and printed gear. I'm going to an expo this week. I've just had a t-shirt printed that says ask me about social media. I'm telling people, come up, tap me on the shoulder, ask me. It's branded. They'll recognize you, they'll recognize your logo. I know people that wear the same thing, not the same one, but the same branded top day in, day out, because it's just that I have to decide what to wear anymore. It doesn't have to be hoodies and polo tops. That's not my style. I still think I look like a 16-year-old teenager if I wore a hoodie and a polo top. I'm probably kidding myself now, but it's not my style. I much prefer a blue dress with a pink scarf, maybe so get a branded dress. There are lots of different things out there. It doesn't have to be you know, hoodies and polo shirts. A lot of people think, oh yeah, but I don't want to go down that route. You don't have to. You can wear it yourself, you can give them away. If you give them away, get other people wearing your brand. That's really good, because they're basically being your brand reps, your marketing for you. There's lots of speaking opportunities out there. You know, I'm currently doing one right now. There are now, I've put 4 sites on there. They could be events, networking events, online, offline. There could be trainings and lives. I want you to think about what you're the expert in. What are you passionate about? What could you talk for 20, 30, 45 minutes on and be energetic and passionate, that makes people say, I need to work with this woman. I need to work with this guy. Wow, that was a really engaging talk. I want to go and book them. Have a think, because speaking is a really good way of showcasing your expertise. You could look at industry specific things. I've somehow managed to, I don't know how, I ended up speaking at a company day at Baxi, which is boilers. I walked in a power suit and I was surrounded by yes, the CEO and some of the corporates, but actually a hell of a lot of engineers and people. And I just thought, I am way out of my depth here. This is not my industry. However, because I was talking about something relatable to them, it was customer service actually. I made it industry specific. We talked about the problems that they would have going into people's houses and things like that. But it's about knowing your topic. I could have really been caught out with that one, but I took time to know the company and things like that. So practice, time it again, slow down. I feel like I'm powering through here, and that's a really good reminder for me to just, you know what, sometimes you always speak faster than you realize you do. Think about these assets. Is this being filmed? Now, I know Gary's filming this. That's a great asset for me if I'm cheeky enough to say to him, Gary, can I have a couple of snippets of this or something? Is it being photographed? You know, awards ceremonies, things like that. We always had a photographer, not only so that we could capture the moments for that evening, but so we could promote next year straight away with those assets. We wanted people to feel like they could be in the room. Can you take a banner? What's the point in going to speak if you're not stood in front of your banner? Who's coming along with you? So when I say cheerleaders, have you got people in the audience that you can just look at and know that you're doing okay? Do you need people with you? Do you need your own photographer? Do you need somebody to make sure that, you know, you're hydrated and you've got all these different kinds of things, that they know your time and that they can come and get you? All these little things just to think about. And can it be repurposed? You'll see from my slides, this is part of a 5-week masterclass. I've repurposed it because I'm not going to rewrite the same thing when this stuff still works. Photos, going back to that very first story of this mentor saying to me, you haven't got the assets. I'd got thousands of photos, just wasn't using them. And actually, there are times where I think back, oh, do you remember that event? I wish I'd have known this then, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I've been doing networking events with Gary for longer than, I mean, he was employed at the time. That's how bad that was. And, you know, I wish there was photos from back then of me speaking to or doing this kind of thing, because it shows how far the journey that you've come. So don't be afraid to ask for photos. Don't be afraid to think, I'm keynoting, I'm going to go and get a selfie, or I'm on a stage, let's take one of the crowd, because it will pay you in assets. It really will. Let your personality shine through. I'm yet to see anybody have a brand photo sitting in a bath throwing balls in the air. That's kind of me. Will it work for people? Not everyone. People will think, what is she doing? But you know what? Those that like a bit of fun, that are bubbly, that get it, that they understand my personality is fun and we're going to have fun, they'll look at that and go, oh yeah, that's definitely her. Don't ask me how I struggled to get out of the bath after that shoot though, because it was slightly funny to everybody else, not to me. Speak to an expert. Are your photos consistent across your channels? Are they recent? You know, ladies, I'm the first to admit, 1 minute I'm blonde, the next minute I'm red. What are your photos saying about you? I'm not saying you have to have a photo shoot every time you change your hair color, but, you know, are they recent? Do they look like you? Or are they still, you know, clutching at straws from when you were in hoodies and a baseball cap and you were just starting out, that kind of thing. So keep track of the events, their evidence. Going back to this mentor, he had no evidence that I'd been up on stage. He had no evidence that I was running big national awards ceremonies until I showed him that evidence. And it's not blowing your trumpet, it's just showcasing what you can do. So have a think about that. Class it as work experience and credibility. These are your assets. Videos, it's exactly the same. YouTube, I worked with a guy this week and he said, I've got loads of video content. I said, great, what's your YouTube channel? And he looked blankly at me. And I said, YouTube is a really good library of videos. It's a base. It's great having them on your socials, but you know, people are going to search you and YouTube comes up quite high. Why? Because it's owned by Google. So YouTube, he said, okay, I'll go and do it. This week alone, he has put 123 videos onto his YouTube channel from a 10-minute conversation with me because he knew he needed to get visible. And that's what he's done. Now, if anyone says to him, what do you think to this? Or could you help with this? I've got a video that'll help you with that. It's 2 minutes long. Here you go. And he can just drop them the link. So have a think around it. They don't have to be all produced to a really high standard. Sometimes off the cuff, behind the scenes ones work really, really well. You can use them for lots of different reasons there, as you can see. Latest news, competitions, repurpose them. So I know Gary is filming this. They'll be on YouTube later. Who asks for customer testimonials? So this week, brilliant. I'm really glad to see it. Do you use them? Do you shout about them? Do you showcase them? Because it's okay you saying that you're the expert, but what are your clients saying? So this week, I was working with my designer, Simon, and we had some really great feedback. We'd produced a magazine for them and they said, this work is exceptional. That is not a compliment, it's feedback. And I thought, actually, that you're right. How many times do we get paid a compliment or get some feedback and we say, oh, thanks, and it's a compliment? We need to take that, we need to get it on our social channels, we need to ask them to do a video, all those kinds of things, but we need to showcase it because it's that third party approval that people love. Show reels. People think of these, they think of speakers, they think of MCs, they think of people on a stage. Actually, again, if you've got a show reel, it could just be an introduction to you. 60 seconds to 2 minutes max. You don't need a lot more. You just want to kind of test the water. You just want to get them thinking, who is this woman? Let me have a look at her, the rest of her website. Just something to engage them. An introduction to you and your business. People ask me all the time, you know, I say to people, I help people get visible. Okay, but what does that actually mean? If I've got a show reel that I can show them, they'll see that what it covers. And the same with you, you know, I can see Keith is hosting today and he has lots of different strings to his bow, all around kind of, you know, he's got the fear stuff, he's got being on a stage and presenting. A show reel for somebody like that, it ties it all in, so it would be absolutely fantastic. What would your show reel say about you? What would it include? Just take a second to think about that. You know, it doesn't have to be you bounding across the stage. It could be you. You might work in health and wellness, for instance, and it might be you showcasing a product with a client. It could go on the front page of your website. Great for your newsletters and your marketing to introduce yourself. But again, it's about your experience, your credibility, and letting that reputation shine through. You don't want the same experience I had where someone's saying to you, you haven't got the experience, you haven't got the credibility, unless you can back it up with these assets. Facebook, it's not going anywhere. It is the biggest social media platform. When you think about it, it's got Instagram and it's got LinkedIn and WhatsApp and all that kind of stuff. It's not just about your business page though. I'm talking about your profile. People will look at you. People will, whether they're engaged with your business or not, they will want to know what you're up to. Does it link to your business page? Does it represent you? You know, I remember somebody telling me 10 odd years ago when I used to work with a well-being company, he said to me, you cannot portray a well-being lifestyle and then have pictures of you going out every night of the week getting absolutely trolleyed. It doesn't represent what you're sharing. Whether you agree with that or not, again, it's people kind of say, well, it's my personal profile, I'll do what I want. Absolutely. But people will think that. So have a think, what's public, what's not. Have you got a good profile picture? Use your profile to engage with people. You don't have to sell from it. I'm not saying that. Don't annoy your friends, but have a think about how you engage with people. Do your friends actually know what you even do? My dad still tells me 11 years on, go and get a proper job. He has no idea. I've given up trying to tell him. But my friends, they can see from my posts, while I'm not selling to them, a lot of my posts will talk about being visible. Oh, I'm doing this today. I'm keynoting. I'm going to work on a podcast, just so that I'm in their head a little bit and they know what I'm doing. Have a think about friends and active. And I think Keith touched on this in another session earlier that he was recapping. Are they active? Have you got lots of people on your profile that just don't engage? Is it worth still having them on there, or is it worth having a bit of a clear out? And then the last one I'm going to talk about today, because we are running out of time, is that business page. Make sure you've got a business page. Make sure it's up to date. Make sure your content adds value. Nobody wants to be sold to, I promise you. People like to be nosy. They want to see behind the scenes. I could talk about social media all day, but I won't. Look at your competitors' pages. What gets them engagement? Who's engaging with them? Think about behind the scenes. Make your audience part of it. It is an extension of you. Like I said, I could talk about lots more assets, could talk about lots more social media stuff, but I just wanted to share with you today a starting few, so 15 things that will help you to get more visible. I hope I've given you something to think about. I hope I've given you lots of ideas. I hope that I've been visible enough for you to go out there and say, do you know what, I want to do this. That's it from me. Thank you very, very much for listening.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stacey. Let's everyone give a big hand to Stacey. I don't know you, I have, as every time I listen to you, Stacey, I've got pages of notes from here. Some of it reminders of things, some of it new bits I've not spotted before. It's awesome stuff there. Thank you so much. Remember, folks, if you have any insights or ahas from this, share them across the socials. Use the hashtag #GrowLive2021. Tag Stacey in them as well. And connect with Stacey. Stacey, I know we're running out of time, but one really quick question. Anyone who wants to get in touch with you, maybe find out a bit more, maybe stalk you a bit on the socials, find out a bit more and see how you could possibly work together. What's a great way for people to connect with you?
Okay, so if you want to connect with me personally on socials, any social media platform is at Stacey Calder UK. Really easy to find. If you want to take a look at my business stuff, so the magazine and these assets that we talk about, at Biz Success Mag UK on any platforms. And there's another top tip there: get all your socials one username.
Absolutely, one username makes it so much easier for everyone. Again, Stacey, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today and show us how we can get visible. Thank you so much, Stacey.